Hello. What I'm going to do in this video is something that I probably should have done a long time ago, but I'm going to remake my old companion video and make a commandable companion. And before I get started, I should say that you should make sure that you have at least some grasp of how to create dialogue and scenes and things like that, because I'm not going to be going over that in too much detail. I do have other tutorials on that, but I'm just going to do the bare minimum dialogue rather than type out, 4 responses for everything and make really complicated scenes. So I'm going to begin by just creating my NPC. So I'm in the actor section, and we're just going to right click new, and that will pop up an NPC here. Going to give it a unique name, tutorial companion, and then whatever name you want to call it. So we could call him Steve, that'll do. And we're going to set him to unique. And I always check as well that that unique flag has been kept, because sometimes that will not save, particularly if you were to go onto another tab immediately after creating the NPC, that won't always save. So I'm going to go into the quests tab, right click new, and we're going to create a new quest. Again, I'm going to give it a unique ID. I always like to keep my prefixes the same so I can find them easier. So tutorial companion quest, and name, it doesn't need one, this will never be shown. Priority, it can be whatever you like. Essentially, the priority just determines what priority this dialogue is given, but since our NPC's dialogue will be contained entirely to this quest, it doesn't really matter, but I always do 45 for no particular reason. Start game enabled, yes. Run once, yes. Keep all that as it is. Close out and save. And once we close out and save, we now have access to all these other tabs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a script for our companion. So I'm just going to go over to Scripts tab, add, create this new script thing, should be here by default. New script, tutorial companion script. And we're going to make it conditional. If you forget to add this flag, we can add it later. And it'll pop up the properties thing right now. And I'm just going to right click, edit source. And if you did forget to add the conditional flag, you can just type it in afterwards, but we will need that conditional flag because that will enable us to change conditions in our quest. So I'm just to begin with going to create one single condition. I'm going to write int, so that's an integer property, tells the script that it's a property. And I'm going to call it status auto conditional, like that. So again, the conditional thing needs to be conditional so that we can change it. And now if we click on properties here, we can see our status default equals 0. We can change that by editing it to something else, but for the purpose of this, we want to leave it at 0, and it actually doesn't matter what it is. After I do anything, I always OK out and save, because the creation kit is very prone to crashing. Second thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create an alias within the quest, and this will be the alias to point to our NPC that we just created earlier. So right click new, give it a name. This can be literally anything. It doesn't even have to be unique, as long as it's unique within this quest. So I'm just going to call it tut comp tutorial companion. We're going to go unique actor because earlier we created that unique actor. And we're going to look for him, tutorial companion. There he is. Okay. And that's created the alias there. And like I said, I always drop out and save after literally everything I do. So first things first, we're going to want to make him capable of talking to us. What I like to do with this is to set up quest stages for each section of dialogue, but we don't quite need to do that just yet. It doesn't really matter what order we do this in. So I'm going to set up his dialogue first. So we've gone over to the scenes category, and I'm going to right click new in this editor ID. And this is going to be the ID for the scene. So this is going to be a scene which plays the first time we meet this companion. So tutorial companion quest, I'm going to leave that prefix there, and I'm just going to write intro scene afterwards, and we've created our unique scene. And what we can do is these will normally show up in alphabetical order, or they will show up in order of this index. So because we've only got one scene, we can leave the index at 0 for now, but if you want them to appear chronologically, you can just increase the index on each scene that you have. So now we're going to open this white space here, right click, new actor. So this is beginning to create our scene, and there's always player default, which represents the player, and any aliases which exist in the quest. So we want to select our tutorial companion, and that's brought up this little box here. And next of all, if we hit player dialogue, this start phase will appear, and this is the greeting section. So we can double click in here, and this is going to come up, and so this is creating an ID for our greetings. So again, I'm going to leave that prefix and write greetings here. And then this is going to be the greeting. So I'm going to say, hello, I'm a companion. We've never met before, have we? And we haven't ever met before. And I'm going to make this requires player activation. Now, at the moment, this is completely unconditioned. So the very first time a player ever speaks to this NPC, they'll say this line. But it also means any NPC anywhere will say this line. And that applies only to greetings. Anything that we make later on in the scene will be tied to this actor. But this greeting is completely open. So we can put the condition in here, but the fastest way to make sure we never have to worry about accidentally leaving a blank greeting is if we bounce over to quest data, and in quest dialog conditions, we put get is alias ref tutorial companion. So now only the NPC which occupies the alias tutorial companion can say any of the dialogue within this quest. So we never need to worry now about leaving an unconditioned greeting or something like that and making every NPC in the game say that greeting. So I'm going to right click, add phase at end. And the handy thing about dialogue is that we can just have as many phases as we want for the conversation to advance from A to B to C. So underneath phase 1, we can right click a new action, and we're going to do player dialogue because we want the player to be able to say any of these lines. And I always click out because when you first add a player dialogue, it will default to editing the positive response for green response, but we like to have this window up here. So now this is a point where you can fill in all this dialogue. And I'm obviously not going to fill in every single one of these 4 things because I'm just showing how to make the actual companion. So I'm going to start by making the dialogue that the companion will say when you first recruit them. So this side is what the player says, this side is what the NPC says. I'm going to double click in here, and I'm just going to write anything. Like, that's right, we've never met. Do you want to travel together? And that's what the subtitles will show. Under here, this is the prompt. So this is what the player will see when they're choosing it. And I always put exactly what the player is going to say. I don't do like a shorthand because I find that irritating. Now I'm going to have the NPC respond to me. And this section is the response to this. So, sounds like a plan. Let's go. Like that. And okay, and I'm going to put some back out dialogue now as well so that a player can quit out of the dialogue. Let's say, actually, forget it. Double click in here and just put the prompt into the response text. Actually, forget it. And no problem. And I'm going to, strictly speaking, because the scene ends here, we don't have to set the end running scene flag, but it's often best practice to do so for any dialogue which will be ending a scene. So I'm going to have both of those end the scene. And obviously at the moment, this dialogue doesn't do anything, the companion isn't set up, and also he's going to endlessly say this same, hello, I'm a companion, we've never met before, have we? So I'm actually going to set up some conditions on this dialogue now. I'm going to right click, new, get stage, and it'll default to our current quest, and I'm going to put 0. But I'm also going to put the say once flag in there so that he won't say the same line again and again. And now if we want to create a second greeting for this scene, we can right click new and put hello, have you, Jesus Christ, changed your mind about taking me? It doesn't matter, it doesn't really make sense. Except now what's going to happen is it won't default to starting this scene. So if we were to go OK, you can see it isn't in here. So we can double click start greeting and select scene, select our particular scene, and it'll default to none because none of our phases have any names. And I'm going to say requires player activation again for that thing. So these, and oh yes, the same thing, get stage equals 0. So what happens now is when the stage is 0, which is the default stage of any quest which doesn't have a stage set, these lines will play. So what we're going to want to do now is actually begin the process of setting up our companion to be a follower. And there's lots of different ways that you could do this which all work equally as well, but this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to begin by setting up his AI packages, and again we can sort of do this in any order, which makes it a bit of a difficult tutorial, but I'm going to set up his AI packages first. We're going to create a package for a home package for where he's going to be when he's not following you. We're going to create a package to make him follow you, and we're going to create a package to make him wait when the player wants him to wait. So I'm going to go right click, new in his AI packages. I was already in the AI packages tab here. You may have to click these arrows if you can't see the tab. These arrows, sorry, at the top here. So I'm just going to give it a unique ID. So I'm going to give it tutorial companion home package. Go over to the package tab here, and in package templates we can do sandbox. And for the purposes of this package, we're going to keep everything the same, so it will default to near editor location with a radius of 512. We can change that to anything we want, so we can put them in a specific cell, near a specific reference, near a linked reference. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to have him sandbox near his editor location, which will be the location I place him within the editor, as we might expect. Then conditions, we're going to want to condition this AI package, so we're going to right click new, and we're going to put get VM quest variable. And now this is why we had to put all that conditional stuff in our script earlier, because that will allow us to actually use the condition. So to use the variables, the conditional variables. So we're going to search for our quest, which was called tutorial companion quest. And we should now be able to see a list of all our variables that we created before. They'll have these dots in front of them and an underscore var afterwards. So we're going to set status to 0. And as you'll remember, status defaults to 0, which means that when the quest first starts up, status will be 0, and therefore he will be running this AI package. Now we're going to want to create a series of different packages. So we're going to create a follower package, tutorial companion follow package. I'm going to try and type it right. And now we go to follow player, and we don't actually need to change any of this. So we just need to go over to our conditions and get VM quest variable and search for our quest again, which is tutorial companion quest. Select status again, but this time I'm going to leave it at 1, because later on in our script we're going to be setting up status to change to 1, and so when status changes to 1 he'll do this package instead. And now we're just going to do a wait package, tutorial companion wait package. So this will be when you tell him to wait. I usually do travel near self for that. So basically he will travel to himself in a radius of 0, i.e. he will stay still. So that should work. But in conditions we want to get VM quest variable, tutorial companion quest status, and this time we're going to have 2. So our values are 0, 1, and 2. Now we're going to bounce back over to our quest tab and tutorial companion quest, and what we're going to do is we're going to leave some notes to remind ourselves of what each of those things do. This isn't mandatory, but it is good practice. So we do this wiggly bracket, and we can write 0 equals home, 1 equals following, and 2 equals waiting. Close the wiggly bracket and save. And now when we view our property, we can see that value that we just wrote in here. So that will remind ourselves, and also it's a little comment to other modders about what we've been doing. So what I'm going to do now is actually edit the script. So you can do this all via dialogue fragments and quest fragments, but I find it a little bit easier to do it within the main script itself, so we don't have to write all the same thing out over and over again. We can just call this function every time we want to do it. So first of all, we're going to need to create a property to point to the alias that we want to be our companion. So I'm going to put reference alias property, and what we called him before was tut comp. So I'm going to put alias underscore chut comp auto and const this time, and that's because it's a constant variable, and it won't ever change. So once we've defined that reference alias property, so that just tells the script that it is a property which is pointing to a reference alias being this that we made earlier. And if we go into properties and we just hit autofill all, it will autofill that property. And with putting alias underscore in front of it, the creation kit will recognize that that is a property pointing to an alias. And I mainly use that, it's not mandatory, I could have just put tutcomp, but I mainly use the alias just to remind myself, cancelled, just to remind myself that it is an alias, because there's slightly different scripting things that we need to do to aliases. So I'm going to make my function now. So just to define a function, we just write function. And then we give it a name. It can be literally anything so long as it's unique within this script. But I mean, obviously try and do it something sensible so you know what you're doing. Hire companion. And I'm just going to write end function under here. So that's the end of our function. And the reason I always do that is so I can save as I'm going along without throwing up an error. So basically, we're going to put anything into this function which has to happen when we hire our companion. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write actor companion equals alias underscore chut comp dot get actor ref, open brackets, close brackets, and we can save that and that should work. The reason I've done that is because we're going to be performing multiple actions on the alias tut comp, and every single time we did it, we would have to refer to the alias as alias underscore tutcomp dot get actor ref. So what I've done is I've just created a temporary reference called companion, which is assigned to alias underscore tutcomp dot get actor ref, so we don't have to endlessly write that out every single fucking time. So first of all, we're going to put status equals 1. So that's simple enough. So that's setting this variable status to 1 to remind, and if you remember, that is the following variable. And finally, in fact, this wasn't necessary, this was just adding extra stuff. Finally, what we can do is go companion dot set player teammate, and in brackets, true, like that, and we can save it. In fact, strictly speaking, this wasn't necessary. This would only be necessary if we were going to add into some factions, which we can do. So we can do faction property current companion faction auto const. So any companion is usually in that faction, so we'll add him to that faction just so that the game treats him in that way. So now this is why it was useful to do that alias underscore chut comp thing before, because otherwise we'd have had to have written that out multiple times. Companion dot add to faction current companion faction. That's mainly for making him like a combat ally and things like that, so he will behave as any companion does. This set player teammate thing means that he will be commandable. It means he'll crouch when you crouch, and it means that other NPCs will treat him as if he's your companion. And if he gets a kill, it counts as your kill, so you'll earn XP for his kills. If he commits a crime, it's your crime, so don't be ordering him to do murders. But one thing he won't do is get his gun out for you. To do that, we have to add a special keywords to our companion, but if I remember, I will get onto that later. So we've created a function to hire him. Let's create a function to fire him. So write function again, fire companion. This is exactly the same, so we can just copy and paste that. A little bit different here. Status equals 0, so that's sending him back to his sandbox behavior, as you remember when we defined that earlier. Companion dot set player teammate false. You have to actually spell it right. And companion dot remove from faction current companion faction. The capitalization doesn't matter, but I always like to do it anyway, just for neatness' sake. It's a little bit easier to read. Another thing we can do actually, just to make sure he does follow us, companion dot evaluate package. So NPCs will automatically evaluate their package every 10 seconds. But if you don't want to wait, you can just write that companion.evaluate package command. So those are the two functions which we will be using to hire and fire him. And let's just double check our properties. Yeah, we need to make sure anytime you create a property, you can create it this way by adding a property and using this form, but I prefer to type it out. And that's just a personal preference. But if you do manually type them out, you have to make sure to remember to go back and fill them in. So what we're going to want to do now is create our scenes. So if you remember at the beginning, we created this scene, but at the moment it doesn't do anything. So I'm going to have a stage here, stage 5, and right click new. And in designer notes, I'm just going to put hire companion for the first time. So basically, once we hit this number 5, that will get rid of all his intro dialogue because we've conditioned that to 0. So we're going to go into this hiring stage and we're going to set parent fragment, and hire companion for the first time is the only stage available, so it will default to that. Now we need to go to that stage, KMY quest, that will be the name of our script. And then we need to put KMY quest dot hire companion. Complete. Compile, I mean. There we go. So what that's done now is the stage will default to stage 0, which is here, get stage 0. He'll say, I'm a companion we've never met before. That's right, we've never met. Do you want to travel together? Sounds like a plan, let's go. And it will set stage 5, which means he will now be following us. So we've used this KMY quest.hire companion, and that is this. So his status has been set to 1, he's been made a teammate, he's been added to our faction, he's evaluated his packages, he is now following us. So I'm going to hit OK and save again. But he's following us, but he doesn't have any dialogue. So we're going to want to go right click new, tutorial companion quest, and I'm going to call this follower scene, like that. And right click new actor, tutorial companion, player dialogue as we did before. Create a greeting and just say, hi, I'm following you. And now we're going to condition this greeting. So we're going to right click new and put get stage 5, which means he'll only say this when he has been hired, but we're going to want to condition it to run concurrently with his status variable. So I'm going to right click new and get VM quest variable, and it'll default to our current quest, and we hit status, and that equals 1. Now what that means is he will only say this line when his status equals 1, which was the status that we conditioned the package for following. So we can use that status to really control a lot of different things. You can use it to control his AI package, and you can use it to control his dialogue. So anytime status equals 1, it means he's following us. So now we're going to want to create the actual dialogue. So we just add our phaser end, and we add our player dialogue. So I'm just going to create a goodbye response first of all. Goodbye from a player. Goodbye. So that's what the player will say. And in response to saying goodbye, I'll just have him say, see you later. And we're going to end the running scene. But there are a few other things that you might want to do with a companion. You might want him to wait where he is, or you might want him to open his inventory. So I'm going to double click in here, and for our question response, I'm going to use a trade. And for this, let's use some dialogue. So we can actually do a shared info here, which means we can just pull any of the player's dialogue. Not all player dialogue is shared info, but let's actually get some dialogue going. I just want to trade a few things. You don't have to do that, you can input whatever you want, but this is handy for certain dialogue lines. We'll have these shared infos, which means you can pull directly from vanilla lines without having to do anything. Let's have him say, here's what I've got. And we're going to make this end the running scene, otherwise like the dialogue lines will come up on top of the inventory, and we really don't want that to happen. So we're going to want to create a property in this fragment, and we're going to search for a reference alias property, and we're going to do the same before, alias underscore chut comp. So if you'll remember alias underscore chut comp, it will autofill to be the alias chut comp, which is our companion. So now we're going to write alias underscore chut comp dot get actor ref. And this dot get actor ref, this is important because otherwise it will be attempting to run the script on the alias rather than the actor who occupies the alias, which is why you have to put dot get actor ref, otherwise it will come up an error. Now I think is it open inventory? If I got that exactly right, that would be a good guess. Dot open inventory. And because he's a player teammate, we don't have to do anything. We can just put open brackets, close brackets. But if he wasn't a teammate, you have to write true because that forces the inventory to open. So you can open an enemy's inventory with that script. But because he's a friend, he's an ally, we just need to put open inventory. We're also going to want to tell him to wait. Oh, we need to fire him as well, don't we? Let's make the positive response be wait here. Wait here a sec. Wait here a sec. And double click in here. And we're just going to have him say, sure thing. And what we're going to want to do now, because waiting doesn't require quite as much scripting as anything else, we can just do run fragments, KMY quest, point to our tutorial companion script. And then we can just write KMY quest dot status equals 2. And if you remember, status was the variable that we put to make him wait. So we've just called on the script to set its variable status to 2, and let's have him end a running scene. And last but not least, we might want to fire him. You should head home. You should head home. And I'm just going to put in here response text. Okay, come back if you change your mind. Run fragment, tutorial companion script, and now we're going to want to fire him. So I'm going to put kmy quest.fire companion, open brackets, close brackets, because we're calling a function, so we have to include that open bracket. The reason it has this here, by the way, is because you can add other variables inside here, like integers to pass to the function, but it isn't necessary, so we just have the straight up open brackets, close brackets, and let's end the running scene. So now we've set up a scene for when he's following you. So now we're going to have him have a scene where he is either waiting or fired. And I'm going to have a shared scene because essentially we're doing the same thing. So I'm going to right click new and I'm going to put fired. I'm going to put rehire scene. Rehire scene. And you can see these have fallen out of order. So I'm actually going to order that to 0, 1, 2, like that. So all that has been reordered using the index as I mentioned before. So now for this again, we're going to right click new actor, tutorial companion, player dialogue, jump into the greetings. Do you want to rehire me? So now we're going to do exactly the same as before. So we're going to put get stage equals 5 because it will be 5 once we've hired him for the first time. And right click new, get VM quest variable status. And now, because I want it to be shared between waiting and being fired, I'm going to put doesn't equal 1. So we never have any danger of him reverting to his intro scene, because that's conditioned to only be stage 0. So we can have his "Do you want to rehire me" dialogue be for 2 or 3. Sorry, 2 or 0, in fact. So just as long as he isn't following you. So this will happen if you've hired him once because of stage 5, and if you're rehiring him subsequently. So now I'm just going to put new action, player dialogue, and hit OK, and I'm going to put yes, come with me. Yes, come with me. Yes, come with me. I'm going to put a full stop in here. It's not really strictly necessary, but... And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have him say 2 different things, depending on whether he was waiting or whether he was fired. So now I'm going to have him say, glad you didn't forget about me. And I'm going to condition this to right-click new, get VM quest variable tutorial companion status equals 2. So this one will play if he's waiting. And all we need to do if he's waiting is kmy quest dot status equals 1, because 1 was our condition for following. So we don't need to call the rehire function on this because he's already hired. He's just waiting. And now we're gonna do glad to be back on the road with you. And strictly speaking, we don't need to condition this at all, because this is higher up in the priority order, which means this one will always play first. So if the variable is 2, this will play. But if it isn't 2, it'll check and try and play the one below. And because there's only 2, if it's 0, this will play by default because there's only 2 and it has to play one of them, and it can't play for one above because the condition is not met. So we can just leave that blank, and we can run fragments kmy quest tutorial, and we can put kmy quest dot hire companion. And now you should be able to see the benefits of all the functions I was creating before, because if we hadn't created this function, we'd have to have written out every single time hire companion, set teammate, and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes you might want to do quite a lot of stuff when you're hiring a companion. You never know what you might want to do. And now I'm going to create a goodbye feature. Talk to you later. Talk to you later. And again, for this scene, you might want to set up a open inventory section, but I won't bother demonstrating that because you don't really need to see it. All you need to remember is that if he's fired, so that will mean that he's no longer a teammate, you will have to include true inside that open close brackets. But other than that, there's not really very much to learn about that. So that actually should be everything. It's actually quite simple, and the way I've set this up as well means that you can have him in addition to any vanilla companion, so this doesn't go anywhere near the other companion quest. It doesn't use any of that function. So that means you can have a vanilla companion and this guy, and an potentially unlimited number of companions can be added to the player using this method. So as like a final thing, we're going to edit his stats. So for his AI data, we'll make him aggressive, helps friends and allies, he's foolhardy. Let's add something to his inventory so we can give him a special companion weapon. So if we go companion, let's give him companion, not Curie laser gun, dance laser gun, so we can use paladin dance's laser gun. An outfit. Let's give him some clothes. Let's make him wear resident random outfit. And then his stats, will just make him PC level mult. That's a nice easy way. And I'm going to place him in Abernathy Farm. We can really place him wherever we want, but my test save is in Abernathy Farm. And we can just hit F to drop him to the ground. So you just click and drag him into window, just hit F to drop him to the ground. And there he is. In fact, before I wrap up, I just want to show one extra thing you can do. When you command an NPC, you have the option to trade and make them wait and things like that. Well, you can do that via this favors tab. So we have to right click new topic, and if we hit trade here, we don't even need to use any scripting. So we can just go in here and hit put here's what I've got. So it's a nice quick way to get them to open their inventory for you. So that just sets up them to be tradable in the command menu. And you can have any of those things. So if you right click new topic and like agree, pathing, refusal, refuse, these are the things. So if you make him go over there, he'll say, I'll get it done. Or if he can't reach there because it's out of bounds, you can use the pathing, refusal, and things like that. But this is just the most basic tutorial, so I've only gone over the very most basic stuff. So what I'm going to do now is jump into the game and show that working. And there he is. He's just kind of hanging around, wearing his
Yes.
Hey there.
pin. Hello, I'm a companion. We've never met before, have we? We are going to have to sit through this because you can't skip this dialogue. So we could say, actually, forget it. Oh, he's walking away. Nice. Well, he's doing his sandbox anyway. Hello, have you changed your mind about taking me? So you'll remember we made that scene, we made that line that would run just once. That's right, we've never met. Do you want to travel together? He should now say yes, but he does. Sounds like a plan. Let's go. Again, we can't skip this, so now we can command him, and he will crouch when we crouch. He won't draw his gun when we draw our gun because I couldn't remember the keyword you have to add. Let's get into a fight, and
What?
no, we're trying to get into a fight, Hancock, because he should join in with our fighting.
Shit.
There we go.
You or me?
Nice one. Hey, Steve. Let's trade something. So now he'll trade, and we didn't need to add a script for that. We can talk to him.
Hi.
Hi, I'm following you. So he's now saying his correct lines of dialogue. We can trade.
I just want to trade a few things.
Here's what I've got. And he's doing the trading again. Now we can fire him. Hi, I'm following you. Right, let's do everything. Let's do the full lot. Wait here a sec. Sure thing. And he's no longer, he is still commandable because he is part of our, as you can see that I'll get it done. But he will wait there, so we can just fuck off now, and he'll stay exactly where he is. What we can't do is set up that follow stay thing. We didn't set that up. That does sometimes go messed up. So let's talk to him. Do you want to rehire me? Yes, come with me. Glad you didn't forget about me. And now we've rehired him, we can talk to him. Hi, I'm following you. You should head home. Okay, come back if you change your mind. And now he's just doing his, standard sandboxing. Let's chat to him again. Hi, do you want to rehire me? And now he should say something different. Yes, come with me. Glad to be back on the road with you. I will demonstrate how, if that happens, you see where he walked away there, see he's now commandable. I will, if that happens to you, I will demonstrate how to fix that right now. So, that's a classic glitch, that's pretty common. It's not really a glitch, it's just something that needs to be changed. So, when you jump into your scenes here, you'll see this, which one is it? It's Edit Actor Flags. There's a thing here that says run only scene packages. When you create a scene, sometimes this will be checked, sometimes it won't. Just check it like that, and that means that he will only perform packages which are defined in this scene, and because we have no packages, it'll stay the fuck still. But if he does have packages, what that means is basically, because he's running a sandbox package, while he's talking to you, he'll try and sandbox. So you've got to run through and hit these run only scene packages. It looks like none of them decided to get flagged in this instance. So that's the entire video done. Hopefully that was useful and clear. I know I haven't done a tutorial in a while, so I'm hoping that I'm not too rusty, but yeah. I hope that was interesting for everybody. Hoping that was useful. I think it was better than my other one because there shouldn't be any errors. There was an error in that other one, which I did correct with annotations, but YouTube have since taken down annotations, so the correction isn't in there. So hopefully that was useful. Thank you to everyone for watching, and goodbye.